claro, el simposio es el espacio que nos damos a nuestra comunidad docente para aprender juntos. Entonces no hay mejor manera que aprender que de los compañeros que desarrollan pues, innovaciones en las aulas, a veces desconocidas entre los colegios y la universidad o incluso dentro del propio colegio.
En este octavo simposio, las novedades que tenemos, bueno, pues son todo lo que tiene que ver con el manifiesto del GEP y, bueno, pues los 4 ejes con los 4 itinerarios.
Yo creo que hoy es un momento para apoyarnos, compartir el GEP, los 12 puntos del manifiesto, relacionarnos con el ideario.
Bueno, vamos a ver una serie de seminarios y de workshops, talleres, donde los profesores vamos a convertirnos en alumnos.
Es importante que los profesores se reúnan y compartan sus prácticas docentes porque al fin y al cabo todos tenemos nuestro granito de arena que aportar y de manera conjunta podemos construir una educación vanguardista que satisfaga a todos.
En el futuro la educación, como es deseo de todos nosotros los educadores, va a ser cada vez mucho más personalizada, mucho más centrada en lo que son los intereses y las motivaciones de los estudiantes.
Y la participación personalizada, el que los propios aprendientes puedan escoger qué van a aprender y cómo lo van a hacer, va a ser lo que marque el camino a seguir.
Que al final la educación es algo que está en constante desarrollo a lo largo del tiempo, cambia la sociedad, cambian los alumnos, también los métodos de enseñanza y al final ellos son los que enseñan y entre ellos pueden aportarse muchas cosas que puedan beneficiar a los alumnos.
Un trabajo colaborativo entre colegios y universidad y hoy es la fiesta de la celebración del aprendizaje y más en el 130 aniversario.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Claudia Serna.
Good morning, my name is Claudia Serna. I am a student from the Second International School Theatre Camp. I'd like to remind you that you can participate and give your opinion through Twitter. The hashtag is the one you can see on screen. Before we start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Victoria Belloso. I studied both education, primary education, and children education at the University Camilo José Cela. At the end of last year, I was honored with the grant to University Studies, Mr. Felipe Segovia Martinez, and today I'm enjoying this grant as a teacher at Sekel Castillo. I would like to give a warm welcome to all the community that is following us online and virtually for this amazing celebration about learning. We would also like to thank the patience of our students from the Second International Congress Empowering Young Voices for a Sustainable Future for being such an important part of this session. We'd like to start this symposium by rendering a very warm homage to the person who's that gives a name to this learning experience, Mr. Felipe Segovia. The objective of this symposium is to keep the legacy of Mr. Felipe alive.
Mi padre era una persona extraordinariamente afectuosa, era también de nuevo una persona muy humilde, muy sencilla, muy cercana y por eso también yo creo que era un gran hombre. Él era un gran humanista, pero porque realmente representaba los mejores valores humanos.
La institución SEC ha asumido el reto de superar el modelo tradicional estableciendo un nuevo sistema educativo. El aula inteligente ofrece respuestas seguras al desarrollo de las capacidades necesarias al hombre del siglo XXI.
A través del sistema del aula inteligente, la enseñanza se singulariza, se personaliza en cada alumno. Entonces el alumno ve que va avanzando y eso le hace que tenga mucha más atención y mucho más entusiasmo en la tarea. Aportamos las nuevas tecnologías porque son instrumentos que hoy día para la transmisión de conocimientos son muy eficaces, pero son instrumentos instrumentos que tienen que estar al servicio de una idea global pedagógica y cuál es su perfeccionamiento a través de la educación.
Una de las aportaciones más significativas de Felipe Segovia desde los años 60 fue la de promover la proyección internacional de la educación española. Fue pionero en la implantación en España de la Organización del Bachillerato Internacional.
Hemos puesto nuestro afán en abrir un nuevo camino para hacer realidad los ideales que se deben alcanzar con la educación, el perfeccionamiento de todos sus actores, alumnos y profesores, aprendiendo a aprender y despertando en ellos el deseo de mejorar su formación a lo largo de toda su vida. El profesor, en esa nueva dinámica, es un elemento sustancial, como siempre en el proceso educativo, pero cambia el rol. Ya no es el profesor el que tiene todos los conocimientos, sino que ahora los conocimientos pueden venir por otros cauces y el profesor lo que tiene que hacer es enseñar a que los alumnos aprendan a aprender.
Nos puso nuestro ideal de esfuerzo en el lugar en el que debe colocarse, que es muy lejos, para que siempre tengamos la pasión por seguir aprendiendo, por seguir mejorando y por seguir perfeccionándonos todos.
Ser mejores, lo que se llama ser mejores, no conformarnos con una vida plana, sino tratar de elevarla.
Next, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Nieves Segovia, President of the Educational Institution SEC. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. We just heard it. The reason why we're here today, that idea of being better, because we cannot have a flat life. And I believe these words capture the essence and are able to explain the reasons why we're holding such a big celebration of our institution. This is our day to celebrate our community, in which we're here to learn together. We're here to celebrate what joins us, who is willing to learn and keep on improving. And that's done by the students, welcome, teachers, the university, schools in Spain, schools out of our borders, and through different formats. And I would like to welcome as well to those who aren't here today, but who are following us online. And solo por dirigir unas palabras en español, muchas gracias a todos aquellos que nos siguen online. Nos encantaría que pudiesen estar hoy con nosotros y en el futuro a lo mejor tendremos la oportunidad de recibir a muchos de ustedes a esta gran celebración de nuestro trabajo, de su trabajo, en el que compartiremos de las mejores prácticas en los distintos entornos de trabajo. Y muchas gracias a todos. I would like to just share a very brief thought with you about why, which we just explained, and how we are going to develop this session and why we're going to do so. With these words that inspire our will to keep on growing and learning together, we have given ourselves this learning space that is in itself a way to embody the best learning environments. First of all, it is shared amongst the community, and it is a community because we share values, we share ideals, we share ideas, and because all of us have chosen to get involved with the institution, be part of the institution, and grow and develop ourselves and give our best within this institution. Of course, in this learning environment, we have to feel that will to learn what we are going to learn. If we have chosen this profession, we are educators. It is because this is going to require from us to keep on learning throughout our lives. So that's our inner motivation. In a learning environment, we need good teachers, and I believe that without a doubt, you are going to be here with us throughout the whole session, sharing best practices and giving feedback to the different experiences that are going to be shown. So first of all, I'd like to thank all those of you who are going to participate, but also those who are here as an audience, to be here and see this content. Just an example of the work we are carrying out in any of our learning environments, both in schools and in university as well. And that's yet another example of a good learning environment, having content that isn't just relevant, but actually real. And today's content are real. So when we tell our students to find something that connects with their interests, something that really allows them to solve issues that are real, what we're going to do today in the symposium is precisely to put on the table real experiences that happen in our classrooms with students and amongst teachers. So we have the teachers, good teachers, we have the content, we have our community, and we also have different formats. We can be here face-to-face and online. This is a hybrid format. And the objective is to try to customize the experience, be able to reach those who couldn't be here today, but besides that, to customize the experience through different pathways that you have probably chosen according to your own interests. So once again, one of the elements that makes this learning experience be an optimal experience, and then the methodology, a methodology that I hope is very interactive, that invites you to have an open debate and an open conversation and a dialogue, and a format that's quite innovative compared to previous years. We have tried to learn from the organization of the symposium. Of course, thank you. I would like to thank all of you who have made this symposium possible, schools and the university and the foundation, of course. We had your feedback, as it should be done in a classroom, and we have included new elements to this symposium that has some innovative characteristics compared to previous editions. So that's how we got organized to create, once again, an optimal learning environment in which everybody can find a place to develop both personally and professionally. And within, I would like to invite you to think, because, that's also part of how we organize the symposium. And then what's the objective, of course? The central part of the debate are competency profile, the one we share, and that we've been fine-tuning in the past few years. We are trying to get it closer to the reality of our classroom and trying to understanding and customizing it, because of course this model is different for each of the members of our learning community, because it isn't just a profile for the students, but for all of us. And I would like to invite you to think about the next idea. Today, we're not only going to be able to listen to best practices around the competency profile, which are something that we're going to do, but today it's actually an invitation to personally develop each of these competencies. Of course, this is constant learning effort, and we learn throughout all of our lives, and today we're going to do so through critical thinking and creative thinking, and we are going to give some feedback that's going to be creative, that's going to be constructive, that will allow our ideas to go further, and we're going to do so in an independent and autonomous way, or by self-regulating our learning effort. I'm sure about that as well. And we're going to create culture and knowledge. We're going to create culture and knowledge, and we want to do it by serving society, which is at the core of our institution. And we will do so, of course, based on scientific evidence that you're working on so much, And given that this is an environment amongst colleagues and weather permitting, well, the campus, both from the university and the school, are going to be open to us, and I believe it's going to be a relaxed environment. I hope this can provide some well-being, so today's environment is not stressed. And of course, we're going to tackle today through growth mentality, now being willing to settle and trying to be better. So that mindset is one of the main pillars of our institution. Also a sense of purpose, of course. I believe that we are all encouraged to be here. I mean, choosing education and then choosing the second education and then be here today gives us some sense of purpose. And we very frequently talk about the sense of purpose of our students, but should also be part of us. We are all part of our community. We are all teachers. We are all learning. And of course, we are human beings that have a sense of a purpose. Unfortunately, we work in a sector that allows us to develop it. So that sense of purpose is very clear. Today is a day for human relations as well. So they're going to have efficient communication, of course, because we're going to have conversations. There's going to be a dialogue, and really help there's a debate. We might even be able to agree on some things and disagree on some other things, so we are able to build things better in the future. And the teaching leadership in each of our classrooms today is clearly a leadership that's going to be shared amongst all of us and for all of us. And collaboration has to be responsible, of course, because this collaboration's looking for a greater good. We know that the work we do goes beyond ourselves, and so collaboration is essential if we want to keep on going forward. And initiative and ethical commitment, well, I believe that, of course, you have to work ethically in the world of education. And today, more than ever, I would dare to say, as human beings, we are facing other kinds of intelligence that will make us think a bit more in depth what being a human being is about, and it has a lot to do with philosophy and ethics and being aware of oneself. And there's going to be an ecosystem impact, of course, because we want a systemic change. We don't want isolated changes in one classroom through one experience. We want a true systemic transformation so we can all learn from each other. And we, as an institution, we are a node in a greater ecosystem of social and educational relationships. And we have to understand our role through that class. Because, of course, in an increasingly connected world, we can be a great community, but we are a node amongst many others, and that will allow us to have a great impact. And last, well, intercultural empathy. I believe there is much more we can say about the huge need to have that intercultural empathy. For over 50 years, on a basis, we said that we were not going to discriminate due to race or religion or anything, and that's what we are today. We are sharing a diverse, a big community. We are with an international vocation, and we are aware of the difficulties we're facing to try to make sure that this was a bit of a better place through intercultural empathy and knowing oneself and respecting other people. So this is how I understand these competencies, which aren't just for our students and our work, but also for each and every one of us. So we will probably internalize it ourselves, and we haven't got just a single competency profile. There are as many competency profiles as persons are in this space, both physical and digital. So we explained why and how and the objective, which is the idea we started with, and I believe that's clear, because we want to learn together and because we want to be better. And why do we want to do it together? And this is also a thought I like to bring about in this symposium. And it is precisely because SEC is, well, the best of all of us. And in this very special symposium, this is the 9th symposium, but we're celebrating 10 years of the death of my father. And I think we can recognize that his legacy is more present and more alive and is more relevant than ever. So I would like to wish all of you a great SAC day, and thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nieves, for your words. And in this edition, we're going to walk around learning experiences with an impact that have as a reference profile the skill profile, the competency profile of the SEC education group, to walk about this framework and all the work done till it was defined. We are going to have David, Martina, and all the experts in the team from each of the competencies. After this intervention, David will invite some students so they can share with us how they understood and adapted this competency framework. We have the SEC education group commitment to a perfect human being and have a better society. The teaching aspects mention different elements of how we look for it, but a competency profile is the one who defines better what we mean by perfection ourselves, and it goes around 5 main dimensions: personal transformation, relational transformation, transformation for sustainability, and knowledge transformation, and learning for transformation. And to specify the model, we have identified 15 key competencies that make up each of these 5 dimensions or transformations, and they are all linked. And these competencies can be understood if they're linked to each other. We should understand that it's a construct that should only be a guideline, because the key isn't really those 15 competencies, but the 5 transformations that group them. And we call them transformations because the ambition is to make sure that our teaching activities have an impact. We are looking for an education that's relevant for the people who are learning in their relationship with themselves, in their relationships with other people and with the world. Something that's extremely important about this model is that we have developed it amongst all of us. It's been a highly participative work through work groups and the presence of key people from the SEC schools and from the University Camilo José Cela, and many of you have been part of the theoretical definition of this framework in the first pilots, and of course in the implementation at every level. This competency level is important because it actually defines why we're teaching, which is the profile of a person that we aspire to be and try to accompany with our teaching activities, or try to perfect through our effort. And we tend to say that in the SEC education group we have the commitment to educate the best students for the world, and that we're working actively in an education that has what's trying to be linked to what you learn, but also around what you are and who you want to be. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you. Please have a seat. Well, thank you. Precisely 2 years ago, in the 7th Symposium in 2021, we saw the challenge to how to align the competency profile of our schools and the university. And we had just done that in the university, and it was precisely the symposium that we found out and talked about the diploma and the IB competencies, joined with what we were doing in the university back then, and how it made sense as the SEC education group to have just one profile for all of us. And the first group of people met here in SEC El Castillo precisely during the symposium. I don't know if you remember. And that's how we saw that we needed to meet frequently to have a debate around this profile. And 2 years after that, we here, you have, many more people have participated than those who were shown in these images. I believe we have had about 25 people participating in different phases and different needs we have had to solve. We have made we have analyzed all the literature on competencies and education legislation and our own educational framework and the future of employment. So we created a theoretical framework, a definition that's available to all of you. We have a 25-page definition that describes the model. And after that, we have started by implementing and experimenting in classroom especially, and also the first steps to know how to assess it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And to do so, I have a representation, a wonderful representation of this group. I learned a lot with you, so I'm delighted to have you here today. And we have Carmen Sanchez. She's the Dean of the Education School of the University. She is the academic director of this educational model. We've got Ruth Castillo. She is in charge of the emotional teaching in our schools. Cecilia Villavicencio. She's the headmaster of Sección del Campo. We've got Elvira Chinqueros. She is the deputy director of Sección del Campo and the director of the New World International School in Oman. I guess we have Amor here? Unless I'm wrong, I believe we have Amor with us. I think she's listening. She is, right? Hi, Amor. Thank you. Well, our president just explained the model perfectly well and how it is a call for all of us and to implement it in our daily task. Yeah. As a summary, it's just a description about how competencies develop mainly through my personal transformation and my relationship with everybody else, my relationship with myself, with the rest, and with the world. That's what the different spheres of transformations mean. Could you help us understand each of those transformations? And we can probably start with Cecilia, with the central part, which is learning for transformation. It is the central part, and I'm very happy I'm going to talk about this transformation because I believe that's the one that's most cross-cutting. So I am extremely happy with what I'm going to be able to share with you, because I believe that when my colleagues talk about the transformation, I'm sure there are going to be things that we can probably link to learning for transformation, which is actually the core of the model.
What I'm going to share today may be linked to my past experience within the schools and my theoretical background with IB programs. And the document we created. Well, as I was saying, the document we created revolves around the trend. It doesn't talk about the student, the teacher, but we are all in a learning environment. And as I said before, this may seem to be a new word, but this document doesn't talk about a very specific student or a very specific student at university, but it talks about all people that are part of this community, and the individual learning performance is also tackled, but it affirms that collective learning is much more productive. Now, within this vision, we may talk about interdisciplinarity or transdisciplinarities, or we're taking up different challenges to solve, maybe thinking about different perspectives to consider all points of view. So when to set up some patterns to create new solutions to such problems from a critical and creative perspective. And all the theory should start from the concept. Now, we would just be talking about data acquisition or information, and all this can be transformed into knowledge. But all this perspective wants to take one step beyond action. Thanks to the learning autonomy, what are the actions that we can create at individual level to solve such problems? And this is particularly related to the primary school program. I'm talking again about primary schools, but of course we can adapt all this to our own learning experience within our institution or out of our institution. So all the activities we identify to be change makers. and this is what our students have been working along this weekend. This is the sweetest part of the cake within this intervention. Thank you, Cecilia. Well, maybe Ruth, you can help us to push personal transformation. What does it mean? Well, hello, good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here representing this sphere of competences. Many people have taken part of such document. At our personal transformation area, we revolve around everything we do to set the balance, strike the balance for physical, but also we have an idea that is present within all these competencies and skills. Personal knowledge and personal growth, this is linked to effort, persistence, and want to pursue a vital objective thanks to our practice. And in order to do so, we have included 3 competences that we thought that were key elements to work on the personal transformation. Now, the personal transformation is becoming more and more important after the last report published by university, where 75% of university students consider that working on mental health is a priority. Now, this is the current scenario on the universities, but you can imagine that the schools are a unique environment. We can take preventive measures to provide our students with strategies and different skills that have an impact on their emotional balance. Now, these are the 3 competences, the first of which is emotional and physical balance, and this aims to boost self-care by promoting healthy actions that have an impact on our body and mind, knowing and managing our own emotions, and through the self-knowledge, and these would boost resilience, stress, and anxiety management. These are 2 emotions that are present, especially in upper education. Eating healthy, taking enough rest, and the rest of activities that are related to control and security at the digital sphere, and this is present at all these problems. Now, growth mindset would be the second section. This wants to create willingness to develop their own potential through effort. I think that when people talk about their personal and emotional competencies, they may be linked to the fact that, well, this is the way they are. They cannot improve. This is the way they've been behaving for all their life. And the growth mindset includes this new idea: we all can improve. This learning is long-lasting in our life, and we can do it if we put the effort and we really give it a try, and we try to take on the challenge to confront future challenges and to challenge this capacity or this effort. And the last competences is the sense of purpose. And as Neve said before, well, this is the idea, but they want to find new objectives that transcend to our personal interests. They want to pursue a positive impact on the rest of the people in society, in the world. And well, this is the general idea, to work in the long term, to have a sense of purpose. So we need to be aware of everything we can build in the future, everything we can learn from to reach our goals. And all these goals are related to this sentence: to forget about this selfish personal happiness, and we should think about happiness and well-being as something that can have a further impact. Well, as you can see, we're talking about learning for transformation. From personal transformation, now we are going to move about the relational transformation. And I'm going to hand over to Elvira so she can give us a broader perspective on this. Well, as David said, this is all about our personal relationships with others, and all these competencies let us adapt and move in a different environment, in a community, and we want to create a healthy environment, not only at professional level, but also at personal level. All the competencies that make up this relational transformation are efficient communication, responsible collaboration, and, as Neve said before in the presentation, co-leadership. Now, regarding efficient communication, we need to develop the skill to efficiently interchange information. We need to identify the context. The exchange of information at personal, at academic, and at professional level is of course different, but we have included the digital mean, and these also has its own conditions to effectively communicate in such an environment. Efficient communication implies that we develop our verbal skills through body language, and also our active listening. We need to learn how to pay attention to things, and talking in public is also a skill that should be developed. And of course, in our digital world, we need to create and adapt all this learning and skills to create digital content. We all learned together. We work in a single team, and so it's important to develop the capacity to work with other people with a shared objective, and of course, taking into consideration what are the expectations of all the people that make up such a group. This is where responsible collaboration gains strength. Now, within this responsible collaboration, we need to further understand what are the different needs of all the people that make such a group. What is the role of these people in the group's dynamic? And we should also understand what are the different functions to make sure that the team is working properly. Of course, the conflict solving skills are important in this context, and we need to know how to share information, resources, to create a friendly, collaborative environment, and to be able to solve problems, of course, and to include all these people that make part of these teams too. Now, all these people used to have a hierarchical level. They were led by a single person, and it has evolved towards a network structure, and this is what co-leadership is about. We want to take on any responsibility according to our special needs, and of course we need to prioritize that we are putting our objectives. Thus, it's important to take on the different roles, of course, thanks to this team's efficiency, and thanks to all our colleagues, we want to know what are the strengths. We want to boost this teamwork, and once we know what are the strengths of all these people, we can delegate all functions and all roles, so we can optimize all the skills we need to boost the talent. We need to develop our negotiation skills, and in order to make all this a reality, we need to respect some agreements. And the agreements revolve around respect, and all this transformation is about transformation with people, and of course respecting others is the foundation to make sure that this is a solid and a successful relationship. We are putting some names what it really means, what it means to be better people. And we are moving into the different elements that we aspire to obtain in our educational model. Now, what is the impact of all this within our world? This is the transformation for sustainability, our competencies in the environment, within the community. More, could you please bring us a broad idea on this? No, well, we worked towards sustainability transformation, and as you said, David, some people and some students at university tried to set up the indicators that would let us further understand how to find how to strike for sustainability, and thanks to the rest of the teams to make sure that all competencies and skills started from an understanding, passing through making sure that we can understand what are the effects and causes, and then we want to make sure that we are boosting action. This is why we started to talk about intercultural empathy. This is one of the main skills that give us the possibility to understand what is important. The perspective is crucial here. What are the different perspectives surrounding us that complete our own perspective at the end of the day, right? So whenever we want to motivate our students and ourselves to better understand what is different, we of course understand that there are differences, but we are also understanding that we are biased, and our intentional effort to overcome such bias is going to is going to make us successful in the future. We need to create resilient environments that respond to future contexts, and thanks to this, we will develop this intercultural empathy skill. We will create new teams that have different perspectives and produce new solutions, products, and different actions that show that we are including all these needs. Now, the second group of skills and transformation for sustainability is the ecosystem impact. This is a topic we have talked about today already, and Felipe Segovia mentioned this point too before. The ecosystem impact is where students and teachers will analyze the causes of everything revolving us. But this is not just about the physical environment, right? We're also talking about the 3 Ps that the UN is giving us: planet, people, and profit. So everything that is taking place within the planet has a cause and effect, and we created as agents, as people, and we need to make sure that in our schools and universities we are understanding, or we're making everybody understand that profit shouldn't be just an economic profit, but profit should have an indicator and a criteria where we assess the different efforts we make to reach equity and opportunities for everyone when sharing resources or when accessing different positions where decisions can be made. Now, the very last group within the sustainability transformation is the initiative and ethical commitment. At this point, we want to see what are our privileges, and we want to use them. And we put all our efforts to make sure that we are balancing our efforts. As some organizations such as the UN said before, these societies that are more equitative are those societies where we are happier. These is where people are happier, and the shorter the bridge, the happier we all are. And this has been our main commitment to pursue transformation for sustainability. We wanted to set up the indicators that showed us how to make sure that we all became all these people, to make sure that we are all transforming everything and our social and physical environment surrounding us. Oh, thank you. It's good to see you there on the screen. Well, Carmen, could you give us a broader perspective on the very last point? We, of course, want to pursue research, and we want to develop such competencies from early stages. Knowledge transformation. Well, I love this point, and I'll try to stick to my time. This competence framework has been created by a huge team, and we have created it for all of you, for the students. I'm happy to see all the empowering young voices students sitting around today. Some students from the University of Education, and I'd like to dedicate all these 3 minutes for you. Of course, adults can understand this model and understand all these competencies, but when it comes to the knowledge transformation sphere, I'm going to take the main thing here. Whenever we learn to transform something. We want to have a purpose for such a learning. The purpose is different. This may be to improve our relationship with others or our relationship with our environment at all levels. But how are we going to do it? Well, we need to learn something. We need to learn knowledge. Of course, this is just knowledge on how to do things and how to be. We should represent it as a professional. Now, knowledge may be artistic, technological, scientific, humanist. Well, all this knowledge is important to change our relationship within our environment and make our relationship sustainable at all levels. Not only we acquire such knowledge, but we should make sure that skills and knowledge is adapted at all discipline and all subjects, regardless of what we are studying. And we should set up some cross-sectional competencies. Regardless of what we're learning, we need to make sure that our knowledge can transform towards improvement. Transformation may not be linked to progress. Maybe it may be the opposite, but we need to progress. And in order to progress, we need to be rigorous when researching. Regardless of what we're studying, we need to be rigorous at our research. We need to have knowledge, but also critical knowledge. We need to analyze and propose new options to improve. We won't succeed alone if we are not taking that knowledge. We need to create culture. And as Neva said before, we are creating culture. You're part of this culture, this knowledge towards an own purpose. And the most important purpose of every educational institution is to be the ambassador of progress in humanity. This is what we should move towards, to improve at all levels, and especially starting from us and then the relationship with others. So let me just repeat again to all the students. You should, of course, study, but you also should learn. You should learn within these cross-sectional competencies, and of course, make sure that you are progressing and improving. Thank you. Well, it is really insightful to see how to end up close this profile. We are thinking how this is implemented in the day-to-day, what is implemented in the things to improve all these things. We may design a superwoman or Superman that can do all these things. Well, of course, we should have a dialogue, we should be more flexible, we can bring some examples on how we are developing all these competencies and within these dimensions. Could you help us from different schools or universities on how to do it? Well, the relationship and transformational knowledge is part of the curriculum at our schools. We are boosting this efficient communication. We need to help our students to express, to talk in public. And collaboration is hugely important. One of the main ways we work is thanks to our teams. The future model is also creating this collaboration with our students and also our teachers. But we have huge opportunities to develop language. Of course, we are doing some changes, and we also have 2 campuses in Europe, both in Alps and Dublin. We also have some schools. We have some debates in primary school and also at all levels, and this also takes part in different parts of Europe. And regarding the collaboration, not only we will focus on the teamwork, thanks to the different entrepreneurship opportunities, but music is hugely important. We will have some music and playing music, or different schools of music show that relationship is important, that leadership is important too. Thanks to the General Advisory Board, thanks to the Student Council, where all students can share their voices. Or we also have some schools where students can develop their own initiatives through some learning initiatives. Of course, learning for transformation is the key element, and this is what is placed at the center of such a sphere. And the sharing model within schools and universities is a key element, and this shows how students, what is the perspective of students within knowledge. This takes us to a different exercise where the teacher doesn't necessarily know everything, or if there's a point where the teacher seems to know everything and there's nothing else to learn, and we need to see what tradition is regarding knowledge. The teacher is not at the front of the school, of the class anymore. He doesn't only have the power of knowledge, but also the power of making good questions. Now, this symposium is bringing the opportunity on how to model and bring best practices that can be shared between schools and universities. And thanks to this, we can reflect on this learning model. This is the so what. So once everything, I have all this knowledge, what if I do not share it with others? What if it doesn't create any change? This is just a knowledge that will not be productive for me or for others, or for the environment or for the context. So just to conclude, I think the objective of this symposium is to model how to apply learning for transformation. Thank you. And, well, yes, indeed, it's really interesting that you are helping us to understand how we should apply it as professionals. You're bringing also the teaching perspective. Well, Amor, you're on the screen. If you want to speak at any moment, please raise your hand. Ruth? Well, when it comes to personal transformation, last year we developed a well-being framework at all schools, and one of the main milestones of such framework was to allocate a well-being coordinator per school. And this is having a huge impact because at the end of the day, these people are willing to promote healthy habits within our students and within our teachers. Now, one of the examples at school may be everything that revolves PE or SEC Olympics, and this has some scholarships, and we also have some programs from the university, CJC, sports club, and everything we promote at sport level to boost such physical practice and exercise. Then climate and emotional climate, emotional education aims to put together this Yale University methodology, which is the ruler method, and nutrition and healthy habits from the nutrition or from food perspective. And we have created new channels and a recipe book created by our students, which is Brain Food. And thanks to this book, we want to work on how to feed body, but also our mind, thanks to with products that can help us boost performance, and this is supported by Catherine Hetz that brings together everything we do from this perspective.
And also everything we're doing through a school for the families by fostering well-being, which is something that's a concern for many of our families, and also making a responsible use of the media and technologies, and also welcoming plans through which we're working around the commitment of families, also curricular activities that focus around mindfulness that are being developed. And starting with 3 or 4-year-olds, we are already working on activities linked to mindfulness and conscious awareness, and also fostering learning spaces. Of course, we keep on making an effort to work and helping the intelligent classroom to keep on going forward, to generate spaces where you can connect and have relationships. So we can foster this collaboration idea. And also from a professional perspective, everything we do through the talent program for our professionals, for teachers and all the adults that are working in this organization to develop our careers, so people feel that the place they're working in is a place that's worth it, in which all their personal talents are fostered. From the university perspective, I would like to mention everything we are doing through the experience initiative. Everything's linked to the idea of personal work in collaboration with the Be Well Center by creating spaces to become, also spaces for to find each other. We have many experts collaborating with the Impact Lab to collaborate with a purpose, to create things that actually are positive for our environment. Many courses linked to developing healthy habits, the sports clubs we mentioned as well, And also from the advising committee, we have included ways of labs to face stress and, well, the AAA effort that we, well, these are just some examples that we can find both in schools and in the university. Thank you, Ruth. We can see many examples of things that are actually taking place in our daily lives, and today's precisely to do that, to get to know in depth many of these initiatives that are going to be presented in the different initiatives. And I'm going to take the opportunity that we have the model here on screen, because we are talking about something I didn't mention yet, which is digitalization, innovation, social impact, and well-being. They're all part of the whole profile. You just mentioned some activities linked to entrepreneurship and well-being, and so you've been talking about these four axles, strategic axles, and so you can see there are the lines that cross-cut the whole profile. Carmen, would you like to continue with some examples? Yes, in the university and within knowledge transformation, it's really hard to mention how in a university, which is an institution that's been representing progress for hundreds of years in knowledge, it's very hard to mention everything we do. However, there's one thing I would like to mention, which is that this competency profile and this competency sphere are two sides of the same coin, really. We cannot work and help learn and to students that we do not represent. So in the case of the university, that other side of the coin is, of course, rigorous and is one of the competencies. On the one hand, we train teachers, or we train the researchers and teachers with research skills. And of course, the first of them is to become a researcher, and the university itself is progress-oriented. The culture of progress and the culture of science is shared amongst all universities. We represent that subsphere. Well, we need to be trained as teaching experts to be able to generate in our university students that love for knowledge, also being scientifically solid and going towards progress. We have plans for students from the research dean, and also for the training of teaching professionals, also teaching methodologies that are able to develop the skills that we're looking for. And of course, we have to represent them. What do our students do? Of course, our interest is to be involved with as many activities in the scientific world, well, in the knowledge world as possible. We have programs, international programs, or international weeks, in which students can have access to knowledge in other parts of the world. We also have access to our master classes. We have the activities of the Beehive, the activities that each of the disciplines develop. There are projects in the different schools to be able to generate that culture. Just to mention what's closer to me, we're going to be sharing a clip. And in our school, we have an international project with the University of Harvard, and the Project Zero unit, and students are involved. They are going to learn by generating culture. They're going to learn being surrounded by some of the teachers of our school, and they're going to learn how to be researchers in the classroom, to be teachers with a solid scientific base, that progress, and that sense of culture, of the SEC culture, and national and international cultures through this project. So the university is actually the best place to walk around these competencies around knowledge. Well, that, yes, has been like that. I think we've lost Amora. Is she online? So she can help us. Well, we need examples of transformation for sustainability. I don't know if anything comes to your mind. To be able to close the profile, everything we walk on interdependence, and I'm sure that in schools, I mean, there are many examples. Would you like to give some sort of an example? Well, one of the examples we're going through right now is this Congress, in which sustainability and ethical commitment are part of it. Besides, we have programs like ECOSEC or our boat, in which we can actually develop not just our leadership, but that shared leadership. There are multiple occasions in which students have that leadership so they can develop their own projects, and many of them are linked to this global citizenship, this idea of the fact that it's important to be sustainable and have the biggest possible positive impact and the smallest possible impact on our environment. Yes, in the case of our university, following some of the initiatives from the Beehive, of course, we have a project in which students can walk around everything that's linked to sustainability in the wider sense. And we have very interesting experiences, which they go to some of the neighborhoods here in Madrid, and they do a ton of things to learn about culture and go to other environments or have an impact around different spaces. So that's why we have many experiences through volunteering and in the university by participating in different parts of the world. And of course, everything's part of that transformation for sustainability. Let's go to the last part, because we're in a symposium that deals with impact experience. So of course we have to talk about assessment, because we have seen the theoretical model. That's the conceptual base of this competency profile. We have seen some examples, and throughout the day we're going to be able to see how it's implemented and how to land it. And now we have to check how to make sure this is really creating a transformation amongst our students. And I have to say that we are on it. The work group I mentioned initially, still working. We still meet to keep on advancing on. And Nieves, you mentioned these as the holy grail of educational institutions, how to assess competencies. That's what we should all be doing. So we are researching, experimenting to try to solve it in the best possible way. Can you mention some experiences or advancements we're having around it? I think assessment is very important. And our work group, in the first steps we took, well, we always try to remember, well, at the end of the day, we're going to have to assess all of it or measure its impact. So, as you were mentioning sustainability, and we could link it to international certifications such as B Corp, we can also use international certifications, ones that we've got, as a way to measure that will be useful to assess the quality of our programs. I'm thinking about the IB programs and also the NIASC certification we've got. So when we started developing all the documentation, we modeled the way in which we proposed assessment in intermediate years program, for example. When you list the 4 criteria found in the subjects in PI, they have been created according to what students will be able to do. And in fact, our final document, that's part of our work, precisely tries to drill down each of these competencies. And that means that we've been thinking about competencies from a start. We did not call them competencies, but we said which are the things that students are going to be able to do, and those are competencies. And those are also linked to the competencies proposed by the new Spanish legislation. And we are all thinking about assessment first, what students are going to be able to do at the end, and so what are going to be the how we're going to be able to assess these skills that they're going to develop. And that's part of a, IB methodology. Understanding that we haven't included much more, but it could be a model we could learn from. And these competencies, or what students are going to be able to do, organized around, we call them verbs, development verbs that have some complexity, and they increase in complexity as the students advance. So we can start by identifying first, then evolve through a taxonomy that will bring us to some sort of analysis. And afterwards, we can probably create a design that might seem hard to assess, but the difficulty to measure something that's not as quantitative already includes elements that we work with, that schools work with, and we can use them as a model. So that's the start of our work and the conversations we have had around assessment. And I think Amor was nodding her head, and she's back, so maybe she wants to add something. I think you're muted. Thank you. Given that we are bold and nothing stops us, we have organized this connection. Of course, something was bound to happen, but thank you for your patience. Very briefly, I'd like to add something about the indicators that we're using, for example, to determine if we are developing intercultural empathy. And this is happening in more than one of the schools in the group. The number of students that are part of our Spanish or English as additional language courses. These are programs that we develop in our schools to make sure students who aren't able to master language to access language in English or in Spanish. Those are our most important teaching languages. By being part of these courses, they develop the academic skills around at least one of those two languages, and we can measure throughout the first year their development in the languages in which subjects are taught in the schools. Haven't been able to listen to everything that's been mentioned in the past 5 minutes. Well, I believe I also heard something about B Corp. Someone mentioned B Corp in a way to assess our environmental impact. And well, that's actually certified by this organization, and how they audit us in everything that has to do with waste management and the way in which we use energy in a more sustainable way. I know one part of our work is precisely to share this with our schools here in the Middle East, to develop our recycling programs that aren't yet as developed. And in terms of how we measure or how we do assess in our schools, I know this is one of the experiences that are going to be shared today, but we always develop entrepreneurship. But this, we want our entrepreneurial efforts to be. We always want to understand if the ideas generated by our students are also part of social innovation. I know that we have assessed master theses, to understand if the work carried out by our students in universities also include these impact dimension and ethical dimensions. Thank you, Mor. And besides that, and after what you just mentioned, within the theoretical framework, when we talked about assessment, we set 3 performance levels. So it's not the same thing to be able to identify competency and then being able to understand it and being able to activate it. There are sort of 3 implementation levels. So maybe, I don't know if Ruth or Carmen, I don't know if you can briefly explain one of them. Yes, that's something we should bear in mind when we're trying to assess the acquisition of these skills and abilities, because at the end of the day, around these 5 spheres, we are probably going to focus around these 3 acquisition levels. First thing is to know, but once I am able to know it and identify it, and once I understand it and analyze it, how I'm going to use it in practice? How am I going to be able to act and interiorize it and be sure that these things can be visualized? And this is going to be sort of the kind of assessment that's going to allow us to know the process that our students are going through, and if these initiatives help them implement these skills. So one of the most important elements in assessment, one of the biggest challenges, is in fact assessment. Today we have the SEC diploma, which is the portfolio that shows what students are doing, and they themselves have that personal reflection, and that comes from them. That's very important as well. It isn't just something that students or that teachers are assessing, but students themselves assess what they do, and they perceive if they're actually using the knowledge they have acquired. And of course, all the activities within my area, everything they do from, the schools and sports and everything that has to do with ECOSEC and the Wellbeing Day, that was something that we started last year, and we devoted one day to make sure that students were able to develop things linked to their physical and emotional well-being. The YouTube channel with around green food, that shows that we put into practice knowledge. And from a higher education perspective and the university, of course, we're walking around our professional portfolios, everything we're doing in the Beehive with some of the examples we mentioned. And the idea today is to make sure that we have a digital way to see that informal learning linked to these personal skills and competencies, so we are sure that all the students that go through our university have some sort of a digital registry of having acquired those competencies and having gone through that training. And of course, we want them to be able to share and show what they've learned in other environments, professional environments, for example. Just one sentence. And in the case of scientific phase, we are facing artificial intelligence, which completely changes the scenario of this competency. I just want to mention that we are preparing a document to guide our students on how around generative artificial intelligence, and that's what we want to mention. We have run out of time. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Well, we only wanted to share something that I'm sure you're willing to do, which is to be able to listen to our students and understand how they go through it and why this is relevant for them and what this means for them every day. And to do so, we're going to have 4 students. From the SEC Education Group, we have Paula Martinez from first year, Amanda from second year of baccalaureate from SEC Castillo, and I believe we also have Jacobo Martin. I think he's here, Jacobo Martin. Thank you. And Yola Ubeda. Jacobo and Olaya are the students, third year from Sec Albor, and before doing this, we're going to watch a clip that explains the work we have carried out with our students throughout the past few weeks. You can have a seat, please. Thank you. We're going to see how we have used the competency profile for different ages, and boys and girls from our schools are helping us. They're helping us explain in their own words what they understand as competencies and give a name and make some sense out of this competency profile. We have walked around knowledge. The idea is to understand or learn concepts for the future based on scientific rigor and research. We have realized, and we thought what sustainability was for us, and to do so, we started thinking about each of the parts of the learning we have around the world, and we started thinking about words that can define them, and we understood that we need to balance everything, and we thought about the environment and our personal environment as well. We decided we were going to talk about evolution-based learning. Given that the world is evolving, it was better to mention, the evolution of learning and the evolution of the world. It was very interesting to understand how our students with different ages understand or live those transformations and those competencies. And we have seen things that were very interesting. Some of the names were changed. They translated what learning for sustainability means, just by simplifying it, by understanding how things are connected. We changed the name because, all people used complicated words and we did not really understand what it was. They called it, what was transformation. Those are things, and there are things that you are trying to improve and try to make sure you're leading them. We talked about the importance of taking care of yourself, to have a clearer mind so we can achieve our objectives, having realistic objectives that you can know that you can actually achieve, and also around having a mentality of growth and understanding that when you make a mistake, you can always aspire to be better and learning from those mistakes. We hope the competency profile is also relevant for them, so they make it their own, and so they can make sense of many of the things that are happening beyond subjects, or how subjects are taught, so we can understand which are the things that we are developing at an individual and group level. I don't know if you can see it from the back, but they helped us explain in their own words those weird words maybe we used. They were talking about personal transformation, being balanced, sleeping well, and having a balanced diet, taking care of your body and mind, trying to improve, finding one objective and trying to improve it, communicating my ideas properly, talk to everybody, and help the members of my team being responsible when we have a task to do, making sense of what you say, trying to let other people decide things, not being that bossy, around sustainability, taking care of the environment and the planet, doing things that you wouldn't like to be done to you, letting everybody play, understanding how things are connected. In knowledge transformation, getting organized properly, researching to learn new things, doing your work properly, trying to build something you've always wanted to have. And in learning for transformation, being more creative, learning to be able to overcome things, learning on your own, and keep on learning always. I think this could be the official one, right? And let's get rid of the other one. So, to be able to talk about it, well, I would like to thank all four of you. I'm sure you are practicing many of these competencies. So why is it impossible for you to walk around this? And besides coming to class and studying subjects, which is what you expect in school, why is it important for you to pay attention to these things? We have 2 microphones and there's 4 of you, so thank you. Well, I'd like to say that these competencies that are part of the competency profile, well, we always have the IB profile that's very closely linked to this competency profile. Everything's research, and starting when you're a small kid, you start seeing the competency profile, and you see how linked they are. And researching helps you communicate properly, and especially in knowledge transformation, organize your time properly to be sure you wanted to build since you were a little kid. And now linked to the two projects we have brought to Empowering Young Voices, and my colleague Jacobo will talk about it. We took a look at the summary. We said, fine, we've got colors and characteristics, but there's a lot more behind it, because what Ms. Segovia just mentioned. I mean, it is a methodology, and through these projects that we have decided to carry out, nobody, I mean, this is something personal, nobody forced us to do it, but you walk around everything, not just the project. But given that we have carried out the evaluation phase of our project, well, in that evaluation phase, we walk around all the aspects within the competency profile, and that helped us make sure that when we grow up, we're able to use it, not just for this project, but for our future.
Well, it's important to know that not only we are students, but also we will be people and in the future. And thanks to all these competencies, the truth is that we all make them a reality. Teachers help us to guide us at the educational perspective, but also at personal level. We need to organize. I love sport, and my teachers are very flexible when it comes to my schedule. To striking up the balance between sports and education is hugely important. When it comes to knowledge transformation, it's also important to cooperate with our colleagues, with our teachers, and currently for everyone and with our friends and family, this is really super important. The SEC institution provides us more opportunities that we can see at the economic level, but also at the sport level. We have scholarships, and Olympic sport men come to the school, and they have a broad experience. We can also manage our emotions and everything, and find a balance between sports and school. Yes, we are at second year. Okay, you're at first year. Well, thanks. Well, it is very interesting. You're at second year of bachillerato. That's good. No, I wanted to talk about how the school, how everything works on diploma. We activate the competence profile. Not only we acquire all knowledge in an efficient way, but we also put them into practice. For example, in the lab, we can carry out some experiments, and thanks to creativity, activity, and service, CAS, we can create sustainability, take on volunteering activities. We take different activities. And this gives us the opportunity to develop ourselves as people, but we also develop some skills such as communication, leadership, and self-management. Thank you, Paula. Jacobo. The competence profile is hugely important for us all, and this brings us more knowledge, and we get information about different fields. For example, knowing how to organize our work. We help people, but also this let us learn from new capabilities and skills, how to use apps such as Miro or OneNote, and they bring meaningful value for our training, and this is hugely relevant. Now, this is also important in the future because all these skills are important. Well, please end your sentence if you want to say anything. Well, okay, you're done. Thank you. Well, thank you to the four of you. Yes, I was saying, please move. Continue if you want to say something else. Well, this one particularly has a huge impact. What are you doing at school? Well, this has a huge impact on us at school. This helps us develop new skills. So, what is the impact that this has on you at class? I think a couple means that this is not only theory, but also we put it into practice. We have some exercises, some projects. So the teachers give us some feedback, and this is really important at the end of the day. This helps us improve and make sure that these errors are not made again. At school, we are using CAS to learn new things, and the research baccalaureate is helping us to transfer the information that our colleagues are giving us, and also our teachers, but we also learned how to manage time and deliveries. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Os vengo a contar que, como sabéis, el Global Education Forum es una iniciativa de SEC Education Group que, entre otras cosas, pretende fomentar el debate sobre el futuro.
Now, what I'm bringing today is, as you know, Global Education Forum is an initiative from SEC Education Group, and it aims to boost what is the relevant future of education, one of which is one of the main activities we delivered some time ago. And we made a survey that we presented last week at the European Parliament. This is one of the most ambitious surveys that we have conducted in the last few years on the future of upper and higher education. This survey has been made for more than 3,385 young people between 8 and 29 years old, and they represent around 90% of that segment in Europe. This has been done between May and August, and what I'm going to bring today are the results. But while coming here, I gave you some challenges, and I asked you to vote on Menting, and let's see if it works. Please take your phones and click on mentip.com and put that code. Now, if people can, well, you can do it. You can do the survey. Now, I'm going to ask you one of the questions we conducted in the survey, and we will see if you know what university students in Europe think about this. Yeah, now some people join in. 31546241. That's the code. You may have. You will see 12 questions, and you need to vote the one that is more relevant to you. Are you done? Okay, siesta ticket for you.
Bueno, no importa. La intención, oye, que lo hemos probado, pero
is the app blocked? Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, never mind. Okay, well, we gave it a try today in the morning, and it worked.
Bueno, voy a ello, que no quiero gastar demasiados minutos. En teoría era para
So
ver...
if I pass to the next slide, it will unblock. Okay.
Si me pasáis al anterior, ya voy pasando a la presentación.
Okay, well...
si me pasáis al anterior, ya voy pasando a la presentación.
Okay, let me move on to the presentation itself. Now, these are the results. 36% of these 3,000 people considered these results. I'm not going to assess this, but the results of these surveys will be available at our web page, so you can interpret them your own way. So any researcher can use this information. Sometimes, well, surveys cost money. Well, 36% of people understand that universities should encourage students to think freely and critically. They didn't highlight that the students should be at the center, at the core. But from my perspective, this is a huge optimism message. Whenever we asked why these students considered that we were in this situation, fake news are surrounding us, and they need to understand what is true and what is not true. And this is the core of our university. This is the key message. Now I'm going to pass 9 or 10 slides with information. I'm not going to take more time. In the webpage of university, you'll find the whole survey. Now, also, this is 66%. ESP means Spanish results, and we isolated them. Well, 76% of students consider that universities should teach how to think critically and challenge ideas. In Spain, 86% of people are concerned about this, especially. Now, more information. Should university pursue collaborations between universities, not only to help students to do some traineeships, but also to design their CV? And, well, this is a reality today. But 74% of students say that, yes, indeed, they should do it. But in Spain, numbers are even higher. As we will see, in Spain, numbers are higher than the rest of European students. We also talked about well-being. Yes, well-being is important for 72% of the students, but in Spain, 81% of the students consider that this is important. Now, this information is pretty interesting. Now, the commitment within our societies or the planet is 50%, 45, 55%. And, well, the truth is that universities, yes, indeed, should be committed to this. But the truth is, this is an information that, well, that caught my attention. And in Spain, numbers are higher, as I said before. And is university preparing us for the future correctly? Well, 52% of students agree. If we add up agree and I strongly agree, this makes 52%. But 18% of people do not know how to answer these people, and we consider that this is a no. This information is food for thought. 50% of people say yes, and 50% of people say no. In Spain, numbers match the European numbers. This is the only data that matches the European. Well, what about the CV curriculum design and the flexibility that university can give us to pick up some elective courses? Well, of course, data show that students want more flexibility and freedom when creating their curriculum choices. Universities should offer more elective courses instead of compulsory courses. In Spain, 73%, and in Europe, 70%. And I prefer following a set of designed measures, well, in numbers also much in Spain compared to Europe. Now, what about the information that universities have? Well, whenever I'm at the platform, someone is using our data to improve my educational performance. Well, I don't consider that this is affecting my privacy, but 62% of people agree with this, and Spain 68%. Now, this data is also, this number is also important. Online education is only supported by 13% of people surveyed, and in Spain 8%. In Spain, 61% of students support hybrid education. They want to have a place where they can go, and they want to be able to connect online. The hybrid model is performing better, apparently. Well, this is food for thought, as I said. And when I presented all these numbers to the European Parliament, there were two deputies that were from different political parties, and we wanted to highlight the results of such a survey, and we wanted to reflect and have an impact on the agendas and ideas that we can have in the future. So we propose them to expand the role of critical thinking, university curricula. We want to promote models where the students is at the center of learning models, hybrid learning and personalized learning, where we take care of our students' well-being, collaborative models, especially given the relationship of the industry and the university. Well, given that I didn't have enough time, there is some information on AI, and when I asked them the questions, I used ChatGPT because I didn't have time enough. And in ChatGPT, I said, well, I am a person that is going to do the survey for the European Parliament, and I had the perfect answers. And then I adapted the questions, of course. So I told these students that those questions were made by ChatGPT/Alejandro. And they answered the questions correctly, but one of the people that were representing a universities association said, well, given that you gave us the answer, I also answered these questions through ChatGPT. So these educational strategies may need to consider the use of AI. And of course, the political commitment should be a reality to speed up all these goals. No, that's it. I kindly invite you to join our webpage to download the report, and if you consider this to be important, please send it to anyone may be interested in this. So that's everything. Thank you for your attention. I just gave one siesta ticket. This is going to be for you. Sorry for the Mentimeter technical issues, and I think Paula Castilla is going to talk about how to measure the impact of such a learning experience. Thank you.
Buenos días a todos y todas. Yo vengo a contaros algo muy breve, pero que creo que pues nada, buenos días.
Hello, good morning to everyone. My presentation is going to be short, but it's pretty interesting. After all this day, we talked about the impact, generate transformation over students. Well, this is a mainstream word, but this is what we do and what we work at. And as our president Nieve said before, whenever we talk about impact, this should be linked to evidence, and this will only be possible if we can measure it. We're going to measure the impact of the ninth Symposium of SEC, and it's going to be measured at different levels. The very first level is more personal, social, and educational. We have an impact, of course. What is the footprint and the transformation that it is going to leave us to share this today and to learn from the best impact-based experiences, to create synergies, to get to know more colleagues, to think about new projects where we can exchange tools and knowledge among schools and universities. And you may have received the QR code with the symposium letter, but those that may haven't access to this, please join this survey. This will take you just 3 minutes, and it's going to give us the starting point. What are the knowledges we had from our competence level, how we should design and use the learning experiences with impact, and how we reached this point. But this is only the starting point. But in order to know what is the impact that this experience is leaving us, I will need that everybody fills the QR code that you have on your card, and this will give you the most immediate result of this symposium. I've got more knowledge on the competence profile. These are pretty clear examples, but the most important thing is that in order to know that this is going to give you a transformation, and this is translated into your projects and your rooms within your students, in 3 and 4 months' time, we will contact you again to ask you another question, and then we will have the information of what happened months after attending the ninth Symposium Felipe Segovia. Now, I want to study the more personal and educational and professional level, but we are also measuring the impact at the environmental level, and we are creating positive impact through creating more knowledge and interchange. But sitting 200 people in Spain at the international level here, the use of this space, the catering, the heaters, all this information, of course, wasn't able to be used today in such a special day, but this has a negative impact on our planet because we are issuing greenhouse effect gases. And thanks to this QR code, we can measure the tons of CO2 that we are issuing. And the Felipe Segovia Foundation is going to cover the impact. So at the end of the day, we have created 50 tons of CO2. Felipe Segovia Foundation will compensate by 100. They will twofold our impact compensation. And the best person to do this is the NGO Trees for Humanity, founded by Fernando Cervigon, alumni from SEC El Castillo. And thanks to this NGO, we can compensate the negative impact in a positive and local impact, and we will support the recovery of different spaces that have been affected by wildfires, and we will use some trees to create some plants and avoid the use of plants, and we will promote beekeeping, and given that we want to push all this is hugely important for nature. I'm not going to take more of your time. Please help us to measure this measurement, and hopefully you will have news sooner or later on all our progress. Now I'm gonna lead you with the Learning Outside In project, how the space impacts on the learning well-being. Thank you.
Hello. Hello, my name is Daniel Wilson, and it's my great delight to be with you virtually through this video to say hello and to welcome you all. I hope you're having a wonderful symposium, and I look forward to being with you in person in a few short days. I thought for this welcome I'd just say a little bit about who I am and a bit about the work that we're looking forward to doing together. So some of you might know that I am the former director of a research organization called Project Zero, a research center at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I've been here about 31 years, and I'm at the Graduate School of Education teaching a variety of different courses on group learning and workplace learning and designing learning places, as well as leading different kinds of research projects at Project Zero, and you can go online and see those various kinds of projects. But what draws me to this particular group is my interests around learning places. For probably 15 years now, I've been doing different kinds of work, gathering architects and designers and educators to think about how is it that we design the places for learning, and how can they be better designed to support well-being and learning of our students. And that's what brings me to this exciting development. It's a great honor to be collaborating with you all at the SEC schools and the UCJC School of Education on a project called Learning Outside In. Learning outside in, what does that mean? Well, in this project, which will run about 3 years, we're going to examine together the different qualities of out-of-school learning experiences, you call them learning paths, and the impacts these experiences have on different outcomes of student learning and well-being. It's a pilot, and it's important to know that we're in the early stages of this work, but looking at well-being is certainly something many of you have done in the different kinds of designs of your schools and in your classrooms, and most recently in these learning paths that have emerged. So we'll be piloting in the November trip that I'll be taking in a few days, and we'll continue doing refining in the first year. The idea is that after several months of piloting, we'll secure kind of a more stable approach to doing some research with you all. But first we want to learn what's working well and ways in which we might refine some of the different methods that we'll use. So I want to just outline 2 approaches that we'll be using this fall and in the spring. We're going to leverage this idea of the campus didactico. So this is a tremendous opportunity for UCJC students at the School of Education to come into your schools and learn what learning looks like in these different contexts. And I and some researchers at UCJC are going to work with these students to become documenters of the students' experiences on their pathways, or these paths. So there'll be about 150 students coming in during Campus Didactico across these 3 schools. And we're going to essentially give them a little bit of training, teach them how to become documenters. Some of you might know about documentation. This is a practice adapted from the pedagogistas at the Reggio Emilia schools, with whom I've worked for many, many years. It's a practice of gathering evidence and noticing, but also doing some interpretation and sharing of different kinds of qualitative forms of evidence. So documentation will be one of the ways that we'll be piloting in November, and we'll be working with these students to collect different evidence of student well-being as they engage in these learning paths. Specifically, we'll be looking for qualities of the places they visit that support different kinds of well-being, different dimensions, if you will. We're going to be looking at 4 different kinds of categories, if you will. Looking for evidence of agency. That is where students seem empowered to have choice and some freedom. Be looking for evidence of where students feel like they belong, where they feel connected, or where they feel like they're broadening their connections to other people and places. We'll be looking for evidence of curiosity, where students are interested, surprised, engaged, focused, kind of exploring. And we'll be looking for evidence of delight, During the paths, we'll be looking for evidence where students feel joy and satisfaction, pride, and have fun. Those 4 dimensions, agency, belonging, curiosity, and delight, cut across a number of frameworks of well-being. And well-being is one of those important outcomes we hope for all students at SEC. So we're hoping in this early pilot, we work to refine an approach to document evidence of well-being that could be used not only with students at UC-JC School of Education when they come in and visit, but also teachers at SEC schools. So keep your eye out. I expect next year we'll be developing some other tools and examples that hopefully resonate with the things that you want to be doing in documenting with your students, but also could suggest different ways you might plan and design learning paths for the future. So that's one approach to the pilot, is going to be qualitative documentation, leveraging the Campus Didactico and working closely with the UC-JC students. The other pilot, it's much smaller, is going to be basically playing around with some quantitative tools. So we're going to try a brief survey. It's a 10-minute survey in which 10 and 12-year-olds at the participating SEC schools can fill out online about their sense of well-being. Now, we're not sure if the quantitative survey will give us the kinds of information we might need. We know the qualitative survey will give us lots of windows into the student's experience, but we're going to try. And it's a pilot, so we'll learn in November and again in April, and hopefully these 2 strands, a qualitative observational documentation approach coupled with a quantitative survey, can give us some rich data that can help us understand how it is that these learning paths support student well-being and learning in ways they might enhance that in the future. So some things to keep in mind as we are in the early stages of this work together. One thing to keep in mind is that this is going to be a collaborative project. So I'm a researcher at Project Zero at Harvard University at the Graduate School of Education. I am not coming in there with my plan and asking people to do things that I want you to do. No, it's far from the truth. This is collaboratively designed with the faculty at the UC-JC School of Education to mirror the kinds of structures and goals they have for the Campus Didactico and the students there. So it's incorporating their goals and their processes. And we hope that it'll continue to connect to your goals, the goals that you have with your students. As I mentioned, well-being is part of the school student profile. It's one of the big aspirations we have for our students that we serve. So we're hoping that this approach can bolster many of the strong practices that we already do at SEC schools, and also enhance those that we want to work on in the future. So it's going to be collaborative all the way through, so stay tuned. Now, while it is collaborative, let me also suggest you keep in mind that this research should be as unobtrusive as possible to your practice in your classroom. We're not going to be asking for lots of time or other things from you. We know that you're all busy, and really first and foremost, your service is to your students and the good work that you do in designing the experiences with and for them. We're going to be hopefully in the background documenting. There'll be that small, very, very brief 10-minute survey that would ask the teachers of 10 and 12-year-olds to administer to the students during class hours, but more to come on that later. Hopefully this would be very non-interruptive to the ways in which you already conduct your classrooms and your schoolwork. Again, as I mentioned, it's a pilot, so we'll be refining lots of things over the coming months. So expect things to change, we will, and we're going to learn a ton when we're there in November when I'm there, but when all the students are there too. So there'll be lots going on in the learning paths, and in parallel, we'll be learning lots of things about how to tinker with this approach and tighten it up for April. A third thing to keep in mind is that we're going to be offering some brief workshops, as I mentioned, learning the skills of documentation with the UC-JC students. And I believe that we'll open up some possibilities to other SEC school teachers if you're interested in coming in and learning more about documentation. This could also be a reminder to Isabel or others to mention that there is an ongoing community of practice on documentation. So more on that if you'd like to become more involved. And lastly, we're going to be sharing. I'm going to be sharing. We're going to be sharing what we find with you all. So look for news and updates after November once we pilot some tools and structures during the Campus Didáctico. And then we'll adjust the plan and let you know towards April what we'll be doing together. Again, it is a great delight. In the research that I've done over 30 years, all my positive experiences have been in these collaborative situations with you all. I have met some of you, and I'm greatly looking forward to meeting most of you when I'm there in just about 2 weeks, I believe. So take care, have a wonderful symposium, and I look forward to the collaboration. Bye.
Thank you,
Muchas gracias, Daniel Winson. I would like to thank all of you for being here today in the first part of today's session. And we'll be back at 4:45 in the afternoon. We're going to start with the workshops now. I'd like to remind you that we'll have to go to the Segovia Castillo School. We're going to start with the workshops. We're going to start with the competency sphere you have chosen. We'll have activities before going into the classrooms around. There's going to be a coffee break around Segovia Castillo. And before we leave, I'd like to remind you that we're going to have lunch within the school itself. And you'll be able to have lunch after the first work groups. Thank you.